it's better than a human. It's superhuman, basically, is what you're saying.
Superhuman,
and Elon has talked about this, right? That these are going to be superhuman.
Right. Today we're going to discuss humanoid robots with Herbert Ong, who is an expert on that. He has a Brighter with Herbert channel where he talks everything Tesla, as well as AI and other things. And he has the Human Bot Company, which he has with the 3 other experts, which is looking at humanoid robots and how they'll scale and to create a business from that, which we'll discuss a bit as well. But he has interviewed pretty much everyone, all the technical people, all the business people on the humanoid robot side. So he has unique, in-depth perspective on this. So welcome, Herbert.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate this, Brian. Looking forward to chatting with you about this, especially since you do such great work, deep dive into this, and you do real research. Yeah, I've been very, very lucky. I've enjoying myself. I've interviewed all the top CEOs of the major humanoid bot companies, as well as what we call human scale. So anything that's not an industrial robot, but small human-like, human scale bots as well. So this has been a lot of fun.
Great. And so you have that unique perspective looking at all the robots, and you had some tables and also some videos to show so people can understand what we're talking about, what the humanoid bots are and why they're going to be so impactful.
Yeah, I'll be able to do that. So let's start with the highest level, right? Which is, there's humanoid bots. So there's quite a number, an explosion of companies that are now attempting to create a humanoid. This is a bot that is in the form of a human, try to kind of copy the human-like form factor, because the thinking there is that if you're able to create something that has a sentient form factor that's as much like a human as possible, it can fit in very nicely and easily into factories, into homes, and you don't have to change any of that at all in order to use that technology, right? And so the market there is $44 trillion of the labor market. There's 8.6 million unfilled jobs right now, and there's so much need. So for the people who think that the point of the human bot is to replace humans, it will take years before they start replacing actual humans. There's just so much unfulfilled jobs. But at the end of the day, what's interesting is as we go through every one of these, the top humanoid bot companies, and we've got a list for the ones that are in Western world, as well as the Chinese ones, every one of them seems to take a different perspective. They have a different business model. They have a different strategy, and it'll be fun to kind of understand how each of them are approaching the market. But then, and I just want to make it clear though, the market is so massive. This is like the largest market there is, the labor market. $44 trillion. Every single one of these companies, if they are able to raise the funds, if they are able to get the data, if they're to build their bots, they have the ability to train the bots with the right AI, they will succeed. It's not like there's going to be a red ocean for a long, long time. So so let's start with this table here. This is a table that my company Human Bots created. This is a company that I formed with Søren Basher, Scott Walter, John Gibbs. Scott Walter is a 2-time industrial robot founder. Søren Basher has done financial modeling for each of these bots and all sorts of different kinds of financial scenarios and situations. And then John Gibbs is an AI professor. And between us, we have interviewed all of, I wouldn't say all, but like the vast majority of the Western ones and a couple of the Chinese CEOs as well. So I know it's hard to see, so let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. And this table is not meant to rank. It's just meant to kind of track every major bot company, human bot company we can follow, and to see whether or not, did they drop a video? Are they commercially focused or are they research based? And then to be a humanoid, we believe that you need to be walking. But as I'll explain to you, there's some companies here who don't believe that legs are important at all. And then you need to be showing hands. I think the vast majority of these companies will agree that if you have the right fingers and hand dexterity, you can then use human tools. And the best metaphor or somebody explained to me was that if a humanoid bot walked into a Home Depot, they can use every tool that the Home Depot has
Right.
and be able to do that job. The right drill, the hammer, right? Walk upstairs, the ladders, those kind of things. Have they been able to show useful work? So right now, that is the race. The race is, can these humanoid bots be able to do useful work? There's a definition of what useful work means. You need to be just as fast or faster than a human, which means a lot, right? The walking speed, the pivoting speed, understanding the reality in the space you're in. Can you speak to it through an LLM and voice integration? Can it do autonomous work, right? And we're finding out now that it's actually a lot easier than people thought, whether it's through teleoperation, through videos, or simulation. And so what we're seeing is that the vast majority of them, you use simulation in the computer, and then you're able to transfer that over to the bot, and it's able to then understand it because it learned it through millions of simulations in a computer. And then the other approach is teleoperation. So a human is teleoperating the bot, but it's interesting. After 50 to 100 times of showing a certain task, the bot is able to at least do it 85% success rate. And sometimes some of these CEOs tell me 100% success rate through teleoperation. So it within 24 hours, you can teach a bot to do a certain task. And then the final one's called vision, which is the bot itself is watching a human do, work the Keurig, which is what Figure demoed, work a Keurig coffee machine, and then the bot is able to learn. So there's autonomous work, and then are they now doing pilots with actual companies who've now agreed and partnered with them to do a pilot, and then are they deploying bots? So this is sort of our list at this point.
Very comprehensive, impressive work that's been done there. And so we want to look then at some of the leaders. In terms of this area, let me just see anything to question about here. Agility Robotics, they said they're going to make a factory that they're going to make about 1,000 bots per year. I'm not sure if that's completed yet. And of course, Tesla can make volume robots. So that could see then either one get to thousands of robots by the end of the year, right?
So let's talk about that, right? Yeah, that's obviously, I think every single one of these companies and their CEOs will tell you that Tesla is the leader. They're far ahead. Not only because of the form factor, and I can show videos of what Tesla's bot looks like, but also because, as you are rightly saying, they've got the money, they've got the data centers, they've got the supercomputers, they've got the factories to produce and scale this, right? Mm-hmm. Of the companies here, who can scale? And right now, Agility Robotics, Digit, and I'll show you what they look like here. They did announce, like you were saying, a RoboFab, the very first humanoid robot factory. And this is going to be in Portland, Oregon. They're producing 10,000 bots per year is what they were suggesting to do. And if you see this, these are a very, very specific pick and place. Okay, before I get to here, let me just explain. There's Agility Robotics, which is what we're going to look at now. So they've already made plans. They've not started the build, but they are planning to build it themselves, and they're already moving forward because, as you see, their bots are very simple. They're very specific for a specific use case. They don't have hands, and they're very just lightweight. So they believe they can just start moving. The other one that's possibly able to do this is surprisingly Sanctuary. Sanctuary is a Canadian-based robot company, and they partnered with a company called Magna. So Magna is an auto supplier. Magna actually creates cars. They actually created the Fisker car. They can create a full car, or they can create the supplies for cars. They're a massive company in Europe and the US, and they've agreed to invest in Sanctuary, but also to actually do the pilots in their factories, but also to then build the robots themselves. Now, everyone else, they've not yet announced how they're going to have their bots built, but so it's Tesla, Agility, and Sanctuary. These are the three that kind of said, how they're going to have it built. Yeah. So
Yeah,
You
yeah, it's
you want to?
impressive. But several of them have a lot of money, though.
Yeah.
So FigureAI has got $650 million from
Yes.
a mix of investors: OpenAI, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Of course, Tesla has billions to deploy.
Yeah.
SanctuaryAI, several others are in the $100 million range. Been working on it for a while.
Yes.
And then Boston Dynamics has more money, $3 billion or more, more assets. But and then the Chinese company, with Unitree, that's not publicly traded, about $5 billion. But that large amount of money, if they're more old school on the robots,
Yeah.
trying to pivot over is not necessarily an advantage, especially if you don't have, I think, the commercial drive. Because I think a knock that I have on Boston is that Boston Dynamics, even though they're famous to make the videos, they were always more of an academic project and not
Yes.
trying to actually make things and have the ambition.
So initially we had Boston Dynamics Atlas, and we had a research tab there. And everybody kept saying, they're so far ahead, right? Everybody would say to you, Boston Dynamics have been doing it for decades. They're so impressive. But it was absolutely just for research. And even their CEO was on Lex Friedman podcast, and he told them that there's no intention of creating the bot for commercial use. And then just last week, they dropped the new Atlas. It looks like this. And now this is much more in line with something that they would scale. They've shown that it's much more sleeker. Now we don't know if this is, how many they've created, right? This is just to impress. It's a demo, but it's very cool. So this is the new Atlas, the new Boston Dynamic Atlas. And so they are definitely headed in this direction. Hyundai is a partnership of theirs. And so Hyundai's the one who owns them now, and they're going to, fund them and have them there out as well. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll let you proceed with the
Sure.
other video that you wanted to show us to get a sense of what's going on here.
Okay, so let's start with Agility Robotics, because like we were talking about who actually has the scale. And if you look at Agility, this is their bot here, right? So you can see that they're very well designed for pick and place. So their goal is to just be pick and place in a factory. And I spoke to their executives, and what they said was, when they thought about the actual job, the use case, which is pick and place in a factory, they decided to let that first principle decide the form factor of the bot. So it wasn't their goal to create a humanoid. It was their goal to see what its form factor. And that's why you see the weird legs, like ostrich-like, look bending backwards, because this lets them bend all the way down. You can see that they don't have hands because they don't need to if you're just grabbing boxes. And the goal was to create something very, very easy and simple, and so that's why they're already ready to go ahead and create this and all that. So this is the pick and place. They go grab it, they move around. They're very fast, so they can move quite quickly, and they can actually have batteries that can last 72 hours. So that was the thing that they do that everyone else 72. Not that the battery will last 72 hours, but they showed already that in a live conference, the humans were all watching 3 bots working around. They were able to get those bots continue to work for 72 hours. I think it's still every 4 hours they have to go back and get charged for 1 hour. So it's not like they don't have a massive battery pack.
And they're deployed or piling in Amazon's warehouses or other places. I've seen them there.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Agility Robotics. You can see that it's Amazon. They had an early partnership with them, and that's where they're at right now. So no need for hands. Doesn't really need to walk like everyone else does necessarily. And they actually don't have a lot of like autonomy or intelligence. They're just there to pick and place. So they're taking a very unique approach. They're very different, and they're already ready to sell. Like that's their goal, is to get out there fast and sell with that model.
For that market of the pick and place warehouse factories, that supply chain area, also delivering things, like they show them coming out of vans and delivering things like doing an Uber Eats kind of thing, or an Amazon package delivery. Those could all be very large markets where you could end up using hundreds of thousands, potentially even millions of robots if you succeeded with that. And Amazon has over 1 million of the Roomba-like robots they've had from Kiva that move shelves and things,
Pallets,
so that pallets, so that they can get our products to us. So Amazon is already deep into robotics, and they're playing with many of the different humanoid robotics
form
players.
factors. Yeah.
Yeah, because they potentially could.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So the point being that there is a role for industrial robots. These are the fixed, massive bots that grab something, and it's also pick and place, but it's like a pick from a very precise location, place in a very large, precise location, and very heavy things. Obviously, that's been around. There's a role for bots that have wheels that are moving around, and there's a role for bots with human-like features. And so people just need to understand, it's not like, oh, why bother with a hand? Yeah, it depends on the use case, and there are definitely spaces where you can always place. Okay, so that is
just a point on that is that at the conceptual theoretical level, you can say, okay, we know we have about 1 million of the car robot in factory, the giant arms moving things that you discussed. Maybe go to 2 million, whatever. You're in the order of 1 to 2 million of whatever robots there. And then you have these, the new Roomba moving shelf things we've already shown with 1 million robots of those. And then Roombas, we have like 40 million, 50 million, maybe 100 million vacuum robots, special case. We all know the limitations. They help, they clean up, but in general, the deep cleaning and stuff is not there. They could get there. They do that function well. And then there is the new areas of wheel robots, one with hands, stuff like that. But the case for a pure humanoid with hands doing everything, the conceptual case is there are 8 billion humans you could replace with or enhance with 8 billion, in the billion order, or many hundreds of billions of robots. So that is why humanoid robots are potentially exciting.
Yeah. If you wanted a humanoid bot to work at home, elder care is one of the most, it's like the number 3 largest potential use case for humanoids. They need to be able to walk up your stairs, open your doors, go into your kitchen and use the blender. You need fingers to press those buttons. You can't have specialized hands or anything like that, right? Open cupboards, those kind of things. Yeah. So let's keep going here. So you've got, let's start with Tesla, of course. They're the ones that, you want to just show them the Teslabot. Tesla is clearly progressed so quickly. It's one of those things where everybody laughed at them when they first started this 3 years ago. But now look at where they're at today, right? This is December. So this was 4 months ago. And it sure looks like already here that it's design locked. I mean, it's clean. You don't see any cables hanging out. And it's got the right form factor to be able to do all movements. And of course, the most important things is the hands. And if you can see the hand movements, they've tested it. They can be used to fold clothes, and it's got finger sensors. So only a few of these bots actually have, some of them are removing finger sensors, or some are adding finger sensors. And Tesla decided to put them in there so they can have a lot more skill to be able to even manage clothes and eggs in this case. Many of these bots, you'll see them walking slowly, and they purposely don't try yet to do speed. They're focused on form factor. They're focused on autonomy. And then I don't think speed is actually going to be that difficult. We've already seen another company drop a video of how fast, like Unitree, how fast they can run.
Unitree, yeah.
If they wanted to, they could do that. So that's Tesla. Obviously there's a lot more to talk about them, but they're the leaders in everything, right? They're the leaders in hardware. They're the leaders in the hands. They're the leaders in autonomous work. And then, of course, they've got massive ability to actually integrate them. And they've announced that they will have the bots in the factory. They're in a pilot right now, today, but it'll be in the factory by the end of this year, and it'll be possibly sold to customers by next year. And so we know that they're going to be the fastest to produce hundreds of thousands of bots before anyone else can do this. Because, they have not demoed LLM integration or voice integration, but that they can do that because they've got Grok, they've got the power, the supercomputers and so forth. So that's them. The next one that people
just briefly
often,
on that is that
yeah,
you mentioned Grok. That's XAI, the other Tesla company, which makes a large language model like ChatGPT
yeah,
called Grok. Briefly on the pilot and Tesla's plants. Tesla has about 120,000, 140,000 employees, most of them
yeah,
in the factories.
yeah,
So just
yeah,
like SpaceX uses Starlink exclusively, for launches and to put 6,000 satellites, over 90% of the satellites, whatever, in the world up there. Tesla can take Tesla bots, put them in the factories, if you had them, say, one for one with a human person there. And
yeah,
that increased production rates by 50%, going from 2 million cars to 3 million cars, and then having that faster growth rate is
yeah.
basically something that would be worth trillions of dollars to Tesla stock valuation. So,
Just a reduction in gross margins. Tom Ju has said that for Giga Mexico, for example, he can see a world where there's 5,000 humans and 5,000 bots. He used the number 5,000 for Giga Mexico. So it's, and the impact is tremendous. When we did the analysis, CERN has done impact on Tesla's gross margins, so let alone them selling it, which is a
right.
recurring revenue, 3 times the savings for a human, and the cost. So that's
Okay, let's proceed with the
Tesla.
other ones again.
Yeah. So the next one that people think is kind of right up there as a competitor is FigureAI. FigureAI has raised 675 million actually, and they have significant funding, and so you can see their progress. And they showed off an LLM voice integration. So let me share that with you. This is what their bot looks like. It can actually, I'll show you the actual video because it's actually important to watch this. Okay, so you can see that that was very impressive because not only do you have a bot that can actually move and hands figures, move things and grab things, but you can talk to it and then it can understand in space. That's an apple. Those are dishes. Those are rags. I can actually, while I'm talking back to you about something you asked me earlier, the app, why did I do this? It's being able to do that. So very impressive. I should mention that of this list here that we were looking at, what you're seeing is that Tesla is partnered. They don't need to partner with anybody. They've got their own chips. They've got their own LLM and voice integration. They've got their own building to be able to build it themselves. 9 of these other bots here, they're partnered with NVIDIA to not only provide the chips, but to also give them the warehouse, the data centers, and the LLM, and the simulation area tools to be able to teach your bots through simulation. And then almost every one of these as well are partnered with NVIDIA. Some of them are partnered with OpenAI to actually get the LLM and voice integration. Okay.
Okay.
So that's Figure. Then I've already showed you Agility. SanctuaryAI, I just interviewed their CEO. Very interesting what they're doing. So this is what Sanctuary looks like. They're in Canada. They're the ones that just in the last 2 months partnered with Accenture. They partnered with Magna, and then they partnered with Microsoft just a few days ago. So Microsoft's going to give them the AI. Magna's going to be able to build the bots, pilot in their automotive supply chain, and invest in them. And then Accenture will introduce them to companies to introduce them. So these guys are so focused on the hands. You'll see that they have not yet actually shown you the legs, because the CEO said, we don't think that legs are that important. A lot of, 90% of useful work is through the hands. And so that's what they focus on. They feel like they have the most advanced hands there are, and they're focused on the intelligence. And so that's what their bot is showcasing here. You can see that it still has large cables. So they're in generation 7 of their bot, but they're moving quickly. Every year, every 12 months, they create a new generation of their bot. So they're already in Gen 7. So they've still got work to do, but, they're going to do this. So he thinks, he said, the CEO believes that they are ahead. And he believes, what was very interesting was he said that we think that the very first company to get 1,000 bots will be the leader. And so he's very confident, again, with the partnership with Magna, which is an actual, manufacturer, they could get there first, because the issue is that if you're a humanoid bot, you need 1,000 or more to actually experience reality, because there's a lot of belief that's simulation only is not going to get there. Right. So you can simulate, I think NVIDIA has this demo where they simulate pen rolling in your fingers, but then when you actually give the pen to the actual humanoid bot, they don't exactly do it perfectly. They need that last bit to actually feel and touch something before they can actually learn it. And so you need both simulation to get you 90% there, then you get the real world experience, and then you'll be able to learn something. So whoever gets 1,000 bots, gets that most, can possibly lead further. Yeah, that's Sanctuary.
So a couple of things that I've one, watching your videos, interviewing Jordy Rose, CEO, which is great. I met him when he was at D-Wave, the quantum computer company. I went to his office in Burnaby and talked to him. So he said that the problem with simulation currently is that it doesn't handle collisions well, like the physics of picking up something and then my hands are not going through it and that kind of thing. That is a problem. Like just the surface thing on walking is more aligned where those physical problems don't matter as much, but not having the physics of collisions is the problem for those things. What you see in some of the OpenAI and other diffusion model where you're creating videos of things where the physics just don't work. It's like things come together, things can pass through. You can have a picture of a person with a unicorn. The unicorn's horn is going through the guy's head. The physics is wrong. So that's the problem. Yes. Tesla may be ahead on that with their real world physical modeling. We don't know that in detail, but they may have it. Because Tesla does the 8 cameras, and then their AI will project frame by frame the new projection of what's going on in the world. So they have a focus on real world AI. So how much real world physics have they got in there is interesting.
Question. It's the question. Lastly, right?
And then another thing with the Sanctuary is that they have done pilot tests in retail stores with a branch of Canadian Tire, a department store in Canada, that they have done some retail tasks there. So beside the manufacturing, they're also looking at the retail and other applications. Yeah.
So some of these companies like Sanctuary has been around for many years, like Boston Dynamics. And so in many ways that can give you an advantage, but in many ways it's also not necessarily an advantage, right? Because the AI is something very new and they're catching up. But it's pretty cool because they knew that there was going to be a thing. Tesla comes in, it truly makes it a thing. And now you got an explosion of these bots. This table is going to just continue to grow. Okay, so that's Figure, that's Tesla, that's Agility, Sanctuary. The next one is Apptronik. They are a partnership with NASA. That's why they called theirs Apollo. They're very far ahead as well. They have a partnership with Mercedes, and so that's where they're going to do the pilots. They're about to make another massive fundraising shortly, and so they're one of the sleeping kind of companies out there. I really like their bot. Spend a lot of time looking at the way that the bot looks. Make sure that's something that you can feel connected to. This is the partnership with NVIDIA. They're able to show that, through simulation, through teleoperation, they can able them to teach the bot. Autonomy is something that almost all these bots have been able to show that they can teach a bot to be autonomous after a little bit of training through the 3 ways that I've explained. So that's Apptronik, and you can see that, they do have legs, they can walk. They've been able to show, pick and place as well. So they look pretty good. They look like, you look at their form factor, they look like they're already basically, again, design locked at some point. So that's Apptronik. Yeah. Then you've got 1X Technologies. These guys are very interesting. Hold on. I actually don't have a video queued up for them yet. Oh, no, I do. Yeah. So here's 1X. So 1X Technologies is based in Norway. I met with the CEO, interviewed him, and they're very different than all the others. Okay. So what's really interesting about them is they purposely are going after consumer, the home first. Everyone else is going to the factories, going through businesses. He believes, and his point is that in any kind of revolution in technology, it always takes off first, goes viral first in consumer, and then it trickles down to enterprise. It's rare that it'll be something that enterprise adopts first and then consumers do later. And so when you look at his bot, everybody looks at his bot, they go, oh my God, this is like a child's toy. It's ridiculous until you understand what they're trying to do. So his bot looks like, you see that it's like covered in kind of a mesh thing. They actually don't have actuators. The actuators are those, metal kind of the machines that bend the fingers, bend the arms, bend the wrists, and so forth. They use tendons, and he wouldn't tell us exactly what the tendons mean. But the purpose is that it's only 66 pounds. And the point is that you can be at home, work with you at home, and it can't hurt you in any way. And so their goal, and they already have pilots in the home. So he actually is beta testing this in the home. And so they're basically that's why it looks this way. That's why it's got the eyes this way.
It's more pincers on the hand in this case. It's pincers on the hand. It looks like a thumb and 2 fingers there on the. It's not a full hand.
So no, but okay. Just to be clear, this is called Eve. This is their first bot, and you see that's got wheels. But they are planning to. This is not the bot that they're going to make thousands of, and he's indicating he's going to make thousands of this next year, the following year. But look at this. Even just the pincers is able to fold the box at the top.
The boxes.
So they've got a version called Neo. The Neo has humanoid fingers, it has hands, and it has humanoid legs and feet. And so that's the one that they're going to go full out. So the problem with the wheels, and the only Sanctuary was the one that said, hey, we don't think that feet are necessary. But the problem with wheels is that, see how they're like, it's bulky and it can't get in. It can't go upstairs. And, how does it work in your home? And so this is just, this is not the form factor that they're going to go to the home, but you can see that that's how they designed it.
Right. And then for now, the pace of which it's loading is not up to human speed. But as you said, they can increase that speed, and some have. I think Sanctuary has increased the speed of the arm motion, not just the walking, but the arm motions that they have. So definitely getting to, thousands, having applications there, getting into the home. I could see that happening. The question of a use case where, I'm folding clothes. I know that with pincers, even a very low cost team of 3 Stanford PhD students were able to use a pincer only arm movement arms to cook a 3-course meal. So you can do human actions with those pincers. But the question then, so going to the house first, so making something, say, useful for what, elder care, or as just something that's fun and cool to use if you hit the right price point. Like, you want to have big success, you'd have to handle some use case really well. And so what do you think on that?
You're absolutely correct, right? It's like, it's a lot harder to win in consumer. That's why it's shocking that he's doing this. Like you said, what is the use case? Are you going to, and what's the price? And if it's a consumer, nobody's going to pay $30,000 or $50,000. It's got to be like 10,000. But if it is elder care, that could be a pretty good use case. People are willing to pay 10 or 20, but it's got to do things that I don't. So that's part I don't know. Right? It's interesting.
So I have, and a theory which we may go more depth in as a standalone video, but I wanted to discuss that with you. So we discussed all of the replacing labor, and the labor is a huge market and highly attractive. But the parallel thing that's going on is that we have large language model AI increasing. So those are the chat GPT, GPT-4, GPT-5, GPT-6, and that's moving very rapidly. My theory is that, so I've modeled out that, the growth of I go GPT-5, GPT-6, GPT-7. We know we go from like 20,000 H100s for GPT-4 training, 100,000 for GPT-5 training, and then continue to scale 5-10 times every year. There is a ratio between training and inference. Training is I learn how to do things with AI. Inference is I'm using that knowledge to answer questions. I also am doing some understanding what's going on with my environment on the inference side. So basically actually running it is the inference side. So the ratio, and then all these things are scaling laws, which people say, well, that's just a theory, it's scaling. The $100 billion, maybe soon $1 trillion bets on AI are based on scaling laws. That they know, okay, if I just add in 10 times more, 100 times more, things get way, way better and more intelligence. Interview with Mark Zuckerberg where he said, and the exponential curve is still increasing. They can see as they continue training, as they continue adding new stuff, I think the game's bigger and better. So bigger, better, more, better AI. Inference also is part of that. The deployment of it. Am I sticking it on my laptop? Am I sticking it on my phone? How big that is, which we know from the size of the model. 7 billion parameters, 80 billion parameters, 400 billion. Bigger model size, bigger on the compute is also better. And the ratio is about square root. If I do trillion over here, a trillion on the inference side is good enough. But then if I increase the inference by 30 times, I can reduce the training by 10 times.
Yeah.
So then if I hit a limit on this side, then I need, so my theory is that you can make super models a race ahead on your GPT-7. Everyone else is GPT-5. You go to GPT-7 because you lowered up the inference side. So the inference side could be a humanoid robot or even a Tesla car. And Elon has talked about distributed inference there, right? So basically answering questions. So if I have the end system delivering my AI with massive amounts of compute and massive amounts of power, so 3,000 watts, 3 kilowatts in a bot, 60,000 watts, 60 kilowatt hours, 100 kilowatt hours in a car. If the AI becomes really great over the next time, I could have the case of I'm delivering AI. I'm not just delivering labor, that's also part of it, the actions with it, but having a AI that is 2 generations ahead, a GPT-7 versus GPT-5, GPT-8 versus GPT-6, by going 100, 1,000 times more on that side. So that is a theory. So what do you think about that aspect of it, or something that you...
No, I'm trying to follow through what you're saying, but you're saying that there's the training computes, and they're trying to get that, and that is, I think Elon said, every 10 months it doubles. How incredible fast that is. But you're saying that the inference, which is what the end products are using, whether it's the car, whether it's the bot, whether it's other there, that matters too, because the more you have out there, you can actually then use less of the training compute or the training compute.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They both help each other. I don't know if you saw that Chamath Palihapitiya, what he said.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. He said he's a venture capitalist, in the All In podcast, and he said that the inference market is 100 times bigger than the training market. So NVIDIA is obviously doing incredibly well, but their chips and their what computers compute is designed specifically for training. they have an inference, but their inference is not as good as Tesla's. Tesla's is designed for the cars and the bots, and they're much more power efficient, and they're much more powerful, and they're already out there. Every car, 5 million cars out there. And then the ones who have bots, that power can support and help with the training. Yeah. So that's the other thing that you have to think about when you look at this list. Where are these guys getting their inference chips that's going to power every single bot? And right now they're partnering with NVIDIA if you're not Tesla. And the thing is, obviously, Tesla's cost is going to be lower. Their efficiencies has been for years because they've been using for cars to be designed specifically to be power efficient. And so Tesla has so much more capabilities that way. It'll cost less per bot too. But the chip is not actually the rate limiting step for the cost. The cost is the actuators, because there's 45 actuators per bot. And if an actuator costs you, $1,000, then you're automatically at $45,000. Yeah.
But so just to dive in on my theory, it sounded like it wasn't super convincing to you, which is fine. I have to keep working on it. But
I don't understand it. I'm just not an AI
don't
guy,
understand
so
it?
I don't know. No, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll have to talk to some of the Dr. Scott Walker and James Dalma in order to get my theory. But then, just in terms of like loading the bots up with, like next generation cell phones, right? Where basically the cell phone, the iPhone, you go up to $1,000. They have so much processing and electronic components that we talked about the bots using the tools. But if you had, they also are walking around with really good cameras and other stuff like that. So they have a lot of gadgetry inside, which if you wanted to, walk around with sensors and stuff for a industrial application or a medical application, it can have ultrasonic sensors. You have X-rays built into it, so it's bringing its hardware gadgetry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, keep
so
going.
So basically, also the other difference of a rapidly changing world is that SpaceX with Starlink can communicate directly to devices, and even just having regular cell phones in there, those things can be connected, so that it can automatically dial out and communicate. So that besides doing just what humans do, because they are machines, they can have connectivity, they can have sensors, they can do other stuff that they're bringing that we humans are not. They're cyborgs in that way. They're mimicking humans, but they're having these cyborg capabilities. That can be highly useful. So the question is, can you find a series of breakout use cases related to that? Like, where
I see.
I want to have
beyond just labor.
Beyond just labor. Could there be cases like if I'm helping someone, a special needs person, someone like a Stephen Hawking, where the bot, the human person can do certain things, and I can fold the clothes, stuff like that. But the bot can bring extra medical devices, extra monitoring that the other person could have. You could roll it around, but it would be less mobile than I can walk with you, go into the car with you, let you get out of the home.
Interesting.
Right?
Yep.
So there's the human labor plus aspect of it. That you're
absolutely.
So it's and the question is, can you speed that up to make it like from that niche, which could be 100,000 people disabled or paraplegics or elderly who have trouble moving around. If you can use humanoid form so that it's not interfering and mobile with them, and then bring on extra capabilities, monitoring and stuff, that would be superior to what a regular human caregiver might be able to do. Then it could accelerate that market to say This is
Yeah.
more.
It's better than a human. It's superhuman, basically, is what you're saying.
Superhuman,
And
yeah,
Elon has
right.
talked about this, right? That these are going to be superhuman.
Right.
No,
Right.
there's no doubt at this point. I mean, right now we're talking about, can a bot in a factory be useful at work? And right now they're half the speed. And even then, the business model can work. But then they'll be the same speed, but there's nothing stopping you. At that point, you can be 3 times as fast as a human, superhuman.
Right.
You can carry things stronger than a human, right? Everything. And you're smarter than any human because you're not just one human. The bot can download any information you need it to be. It's your lawyer, it's your doctor, it's your mechanic.
And bringing in the help and bringing in the connectivity where it's like something's going wrong. I can call out,
teleoperation,
talk to another person, teleoperation, all that kind of stuff. So in terms of speed, Elon also said at the recent conference call was that the Tesla bots will be in the factories doing useful work at the end of this year and then selling them next year. In terms of getting to scale, like if they were to actually make a major factory line, so for cars, 500,000 cars from one of the factories, and Tesla has 4 factories at that scale or larger, then if you were to make humanoid bots with that, because of the math, you can make, if I make the same weight of stuff, you can make 30 times as many. So you can potentially make 50 million. If you kind of cut that back to 10 times as many, that's still 5 million bots, which is the mass production that Tesla could apply would be far larger. It was like, okay, all of our factories have them now, some of our suppliers, then they would then need to go to another use case, selling them to other people. So do you think, most people are still thinking about that 1,000, 10,000, but that leap to beyond 100,000 to 1 million?
Well, when we talked to SanctuaryAI's at that time, the chief technology officer, Suzanne Gildert, what she was saying was that the way she saw it was that it's each year is a factor of 10. So let's say right now you have dozens. Everybody has about a dozen bots in their factories. Then you'll have 100. Then you'll have 1,000. Then you have 10,000. Then you'll have 100,000. That's the way she saw it progressing. I don't think so. I mean, for me, it's like Tesla can probably make 1,000 if they wanted to with the bot they have now. Right. Like you say, they make the bots themselves are not that difficult, but the parts are nothing fancy. They've already got all the pieces that they need. It's just a matter if they want to do it or not. To wait to do it until they've got design locked. They're testing to see if the design that they've created is the right thing. They want to build it for scale, so everything's as kind of cheap as possible to make. So yeah, I mean, at this point, but you're saying is that if you can make a car, you can make a bot, and you can make probably, like you said, 30 bots for every car you make. Except I think Elon tweeted out, he said that the complexity per scale is a lot more with a bot. Like, the complexity for, let's say, the actuator is much more than a car, because cars got a lot of empty space. But at the end of the day, it's still, he said it's going to be half the cost of a car. And so you're talking 10 to 20,000. And in that scale, it'll be less than 10,000 to make these bots. So
I think Dr. Scott Walker, when he was talking to you or one of the other YouTubers, was mentioning that if you get to that 5,000 per factory, which for Tesla would be 20,000, let's say also include SpaceX factory, that could be 50,000 if you look at SpaceX factories, every one of their solar and other factories, and they can also go beyond that. But then you wouldn't want to stop at that point. You wouldn't like, okay, I make that many, I stop. You want to keep that production going and even probably scaling up higher. So then if they were to get to 5,000 per factory next year, the year after, then that 10x, 100x move would be, and it produce, if they're showing value, then the exponential thing where it just like blows up.
Exponential,
right?
Yeah, 50,000. Like you said, I mean, if they can make 2 million cars per year, at some point they can make 2 million. By the way, just 1 million bots. Chris Camillo did his analysis, and he said that if a company makes 1 million bots based on the lucrative margins and the leasing costs and the value of that, the company will be a $10 trillion company.
Right.
That's
So it's
crazy.
an exciting world, and things will just go very fast. So we have to see how that works. Briefly, Chris Camillo is an investor. I think he 100x, 1000x his portfolio. So he's been making the right picks for a long time, and his most important investment thesis is on Tesla.
Humanoids.
He said he wanted to load up on Tesla, not for the cars, but for the humanoid robots, because he thinks that can send it up 100x, 1000x from here. Thank you a lot for joining me, Herbert. We'll have to keep following this. We'll talk again on your channel and mine. Subscribe to Herbert, Writer with Herbert on YouTube, and then herbertong.com. He has Tesla, all the Tesla investing information in one spot. A lot of great info from there, Herbert.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.